little bit about Chris HANI. How and where did you meet him?
I first met Chris HANI in 1977 in Lesotho after my formal training in the then USSR in Moscow, where I had specialized in the art of creation of People's Revolutionary Army Underground. This is a special scheme where not everybody was exposed to. It was specifically meant for combatants who would fight behind enemy lines.
Did he undergo similar training as well?
All round. He was an all-rounder, Chris.
Yeah.
But I can talk of Chris as a man.
Yeah. What was he like?
Chris was first and foremost on the political ideological sphere. He was a revolutionary fighter whose scientific theory was located in what we call Marxism-Leninism.
Yeah.
Whose core actually is to transform the world, specifically in this case, to transform South Africa into a better country for the benefit of all masses.
Yeah, this word revolutionary is one that is part of our common parlance now. Many people call themselves revolutionaries. What does it mean? What did it mean in the context that you're using it?
Scientifically speaking, revolution means qualitative transition from one socio-economic formation to the next. In this case, you start what we call or implement the laws of social development from lower to higher forms.
Okay.
So in relation to South Africa, it simply meant that changing what we call property relations in South Africa in favor of our people, the masses of this country. That was the core.
All right. Let's bring in Mayor Gungubele into the conversation. Now, the city of EKURHULENI is undertaking a commemoration, as it were, recognizing the life and times of Chris HANI today.
It's true. The man found himself in Don Park in the early 90s, died in the manner he did. We interacted with him as the former Israel, now EKURHULENI. In that short space of time, there's a lot we learned from him. He was a man of honor, integrity, a disciplinarian, a man of peace, by the way. One of the key reasons we have been actually supporting this commemoration is that the irony is that a man who fought for non-racialism was killed by a racial paranoid. Somebody who had a racial fear killed somebody who was fighting for his accommodation as a race, and that's a serious contradiction. Also, at times, Chris's name finds itself in some unfortunate instances where anarchists are actually using his name as actually a symbol of anarchy, when Chris represented the opposite of that. We think a man of his stature and the track record and the character that he had and the contribution needs to be properly placed, and the South Africa needs to know differently and properly about it.
So what is happening today?
Today is going to be a laying of the wreath. Alliance speakers will be there. ANC will be represented by the chairperson of the province, and then Begi, the deputy secretary of COSATU, and then the secretary of Communist Party, who will be playing Zimande. In the evening, it's also going to be one of our special events in Beachwood, where Ubabu Paulo Jordan will actually be given us a lecture on Comrade Chris.
Just talk a little bit about where, and Mayor Gungubele talks about this, locating the contribution of Chris HANI in South Africa's struggle. And today, I mean, a lot of people claim a lot of things. As a man who worked with him, is his contribution, is the kind of man that he was properly located in South African history, in our context right now?
Actually, the history of the whole South Africa would be incomplete without the mention of Chris HANI. He was a nerve center of all the tripartite alliance, that is ANC, COSATU, and SACP. And not only there, even on the international plane. In other words, we are saying here, we are talking of a revolutionary, a disciplined cadre of the movement who exercise all what we call complied by rules and regulations, values and norms of our revolutionary organization. Amongst them, the principles of accountability and control, revolutionary discipline, not just discipline, but iron discipline.
But where things are now, with the tripartite alliance and all of the things that are happening and name calling and all of this, what would you be saying?
Naturally, we make a difference between antagonistic contradictions and non-antagonistic ones. Those that you find within
and slowly make a difference, a distinction between
antagonistic contradictions and non-antagonistic. The antagonistic ones are located in property relations between the property owners, the haves and have-nots. Those ones are irreconcilable. But the ones that you find between the ANC, SACP and COSATU.
Yes.
Because
Intra-party, intra-alliance.
exactly,
Yeah.
in intra and inter.
Yeah.
Those are reconcilable. They are like a family. Within the family, mother, father, children and all. They can
Yeah.
easily be reconciled because they're not located.
Can they be easily reconciled?
They can be
But the
reconciled.
mayor talks about anarchists. Are there anarchists within the tripartite alliance right now?
I think it's common cause. We found some anarchists in our fold, and who I know, had Chris been alive,
Yeah.
would have actually been strongly opposed. Actually, we would have no space for them. I remember in Davidton when we had a rally where we were trying to have a joint rally between the IFP and the ANC. Some of our guys saw IFP guys on the turf, flew from the grandstand, thinking that they are doing something revolutionary by trying to kill IFP guys.
Yeah.
How Chris reacted to that and how he stopped it and stabilized the situation. He was a man who always consistently adhered to principles that advance change and a peaceful process. He opposed any behavior that would undermine the reason why the movement exists.
Yeah.
Actually, he's one guy, you would not support him, you would not use ill discipline for his support, because he would actually distance himself.
From that.
Yes.
You wanted to add to the answer you were giving earlier.
Yeah, I just wanted to add by saying that Chris was not an anarchist. He was a disciplined revolutionary soldier or combatant. In other words, we are saying here, revolutionary rhetoric is not necessarily revolutionary in essence.
Yeah.
There is radical revolutionary phraseology that is actually reactionary in essence.
Such as what? Yeah, give us an example.
Look, if for example within the class contradictions, you don't say, for example, let's use the concept of nationalization.
Yeah.
For ours we say, nationalization for whose class interest, as against nationalization in general, without locating it within class perspective. In other words, we have seen the whole world where the national debts during the current financial crisis of capitalism, that those debts being nationalized, not for the benefit of the working class, but rather for the benefit of the capitalist.
Yeah.
In other
To
words,
retain the structure. To retain the system.
of course, to maintain the system, they've got to find a new ways of doing that.
Yeah.
Now, in other words, we are saying here, why socialism is the future, because even capitalism cannot address the current poverty of people. There's a lot of unemployment, not only in South Africa, but the whole world.
Okay.
So the question of unemployment, we say, can only be addressed within what we call commodity circulation, production, exchange, distribution, and consumption. That's why employment must be located.
Okay. I want us to just have a look at some of the tweets and what people are saying during our conversation here, if we can bring some of them up. I was very young when this man died, but I can't forget listening to the radio. I was so scared. This coming from S.A. Dugekhai. Sadu Gekhai, and this one from Rebecca Mutiti, who says, was very young at the time but could see sadness and frustration of those at the scene. All I remember was the gruesome scene of blood in the driveway and panic in the air. I was 11 years old. Brilliantia. And then Shangeti, I can still see Nokolo Khrubuam reading the tragic news of Hani's death. It was a very sad day. It was a turning point. When you remember that day, Mayor, when you remember, I remember visuals of Tokyo Sehwale in tears as well, in the driveway of Chris Hani's home. What do you remember of that day?
Actually, Ukombo Tokyo, to be at that scene, I went to call him.
Okay.
I was the first person to be called by Nomakwezi, because Chris had actually invited me the previous night on a Friday to accompany him to do postage for the Nayo who was in UCT.
Okay.
And for reasons known to himself, he left before the time we agreed. By the time I went to his place, he was no longer there. He called me at about 10 past 10 to say, hey, I made a mistake. I went to BOKSBURG without you. I was very crowded by many people. I could not be able to move. And I really tried to remind him with that, to say in the next step, you don't move alone. Only to discover that was the last time I spoke to him. Few minutes later, about 20 past 10, on the 10th, I got a call from Namkwezi saying, Uncle Mondli, come, they have killed my dad.
Yeah.
And immediately I moved to Comrade Tokyo. We went to the place. It was a painful scene, traumatizing. I remember.
What was your reaction? I mean, they've killed my dad.
It was shocking, and I heard it with disbelief. How I drove my car to Tokyo's place, how we got into the car, how we got there. When we saw at Hakia Street, when he was lying down with a big hole on the back of his head, it was just dismantling in one state of emotions.
That is to be. How did you hear about his death?
Actually, at the time, I was in London doing a special course there related to education because while I'm a military person, but my profession is in education.
Okay.
So Chris himself had recommended that I go there because to come here and address as part of my project, educational crisis in South Africa. It was like, I don't know what to explain.
Did you get the message telephonically? Did you first see the report on television?
No, I heard it on BBC.
Okay.
Africa Service. I heard it from on that morning. It was, I think, around this day. It was on a Sunday, I remember. So the whole world was shattered around us because we knew what the enemy intended to do. In other words, to politically neutralize the revolutionary capability of the alliance in order to reverse the gains of our revolution. Remember, by the way, that during August, Pretoria Minute, I think it was 6, 8 August, like that. It is ANC that unilaterally suspended the armed conflict.
The armed struggle.
And then, in other words, he died at the time when both sides had committed themselves unto peaceful transition.
Okay, there's so much to talk about, and it will be just such an amazing journey to journey back in time and to really explore those. We do apologize for running out of time. So today there's going to be wreath laying during the day, and then in the evening there's going to be a memorial lecture at Birchwood.
And for the whole month there's an exhibition at Benoni Museum.
Okay.
Of his photo exhibition and a number of issues. 12th, there's a debate at Donbox Primary School by students.
Are these all these events on your website?
They are there in our program. Yes.
EKURHULENI.co.za.
I'm not sure if they've put it there. I hope in the direction of taking you've done it.
Okay, thank you very much. Mondli Gungubele is the mayor of EKURHULENI, then Dr. Charles Setsubi, man who worked with Chris HANI during his time.